So things are absolutely heating up between the US and Iran. Just a few hours ago, President Trump stood before Congress for his State of the Union and reiterated the words the world was waiting for. He can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. It wasn't just a speech, it was a final warning. He gave them a 15-day deadline back on February 19th, and tonight he basically told the world that the clock is ticking.
And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests, 32,000 protesters in their own country. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
In fact, he gave Iran 15 days to make a deal. That was February 19th, and today, when I'm recording this video, it is February 24th. The American military told the White House that its forces can fully be in position by mid-March. At the same time, the Trump administration gave Tehran a 48-hour ultimatum which started this past Monday to put a real detailed plan on the paper. Trump is not sending his top guys to Switzerland just to talk in circles. He is waiting to see if Iran actually surrendered in writing before he even lets the plane take off. But I'm sure the meeting will take place. So you've got these different timelines crashing into each other, and honestly, not a single one of them actually matches up. And by the way, that is actually the least of the problems, because beneath all these so-called deadlines and the warships and the ultimatums, something else is happening, and that something else is really not good. You see, President Trump and Supreme Leader Khamenei have both built these positions they cannot walk away from now. Not because they don't want to, but because they genuinely cannot walk away. And once you see that and understand the dynamics, this whole situation looks completely different. It is a disaster in making. Let me explain. A few days ago, an interesting drama unfolded in Geneva. After the talks ended last week, Omani mediators passed on an envelope to Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi. It was from the American side. It contained proposals related to Iran's missile program. Araghchi looked at it and handed it back to the mediators. He didn't read it, he didn't even open it. He just gave it back. Now think about what that means. These are the two sides that told the world the talks went well, that progress was made, next round of talks will be held soon, and Iran's chief negotiator won't even open an envelope given by the United States. That itself explains how flawed these negotiations are. It's basically, a high-stakes performance? They are playing nice for the cameras in Geneva, while behind closed doors they are both getting ready for a fight. And as I said, we have another round of crucial talks on Thursday, and that will be even more dramatic, mark my words. But while all of this was happening, something nobody expected occurred. This genuinely surprised me. America's closest allies said no to the United States of America. Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, said no to President Trump concerning the whole Iran situation. It was a bit underplayed by the media amidst the noise about Iran. We will get to that in a couple of minutes. Now, the problem is not whether America can strike Iran. The problem is whether Trump can afford not to strike Iran at this moment, and whether he has actually thought through what happens the next moment after he strikes Iran. See, President Trump sent 2 aircraft carriers in the region, more than 150 military cargo flights, moving weapons and ammunition, another 50 jets, F-35s, F-22s, F-60s. He sent a freaking whole armada to the region. This is the largest concentration of American firepower in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraqi invasion. After doing all of this, Trump cannot walk back and return with a mediocre deal with Iran, because that would mean he blinked. With the whole armada stationed in the Arabian Sea near Hormuz Strait as your witness, blinking is not really an option anymore for President Trump. The deployment itself has raised the bar for what counts as winning for him. He cannot unring that bell now. And look, I'm not the only one saying this. Former diplomats are saying the same publicly. And guess what President Trump did? He continued his unpredictable actions. He went on to Truth Social and named the specific military bases he needs for a sustained military campaign in the region. Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean and Royal Air Force Fairford in England. He literally named these bases on social media. And within 24 hours of that post, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said no. He said Britain will not allow American forces to use their bases for a strike on Iran. That was shocking surprise for Trump. And what was Trump's response? He pulled American support for Britain's Chagos Islands deal. So now a potential war with Iran has somehow also turned into a diplomatic fight between America and its closest ally, United Kingdom, over a small island, really minute in the Indian Ocean that most people cannot even find on a map. I mean, you really cannot make this up. Think about what it actually means when the country most likely to stand with you in a fight is the first one to say no. Well, that is a result of President Trump's chaotic foreign policy. Now put yourself in Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei's position for a second. Your economy is completely on the floor, inflation at 60%, your currency is worth almost nothing. The protests last month killed thousands of your own people, shot by your own security forces. And by the way, the protesters are returning now. And you desperately need sanctions relief. You need this deal badly. But you also know something. The last time Iran sat across from America in good faith, Israel struck the country. And the lesson every country watching has absorbed since then is simple but depressing. Libya gave up its weapons program, Gaddafi ended up dead. Ukraine gave up its weapons, Russia invaded. Iran stayed at the nuclear threshold in the past and got bombed anyway. So what exactly is the incentive to disarm and give up the nuclear program? Khamenei knows this very well, and his missiles are his insurance policy. His enrichment program is his only real bargaining chip here. The moment he gives both up, he has nothing left to negotiate with and nothing left to deter with. It is like taking off your seatbelt just before a fatal crash. And for a regime already this fragile, that is not a compromise. That is slow surrender with some extra paperwork. And there is something else that genuinely makes everyone uncomfortable. Several Arab and European officials told Reuters this week that they do not know what a US strike on Iran would actually be trying to achieve. Not the operational details, by the way, the basic objective. Is it a deal? Is it a regime change? Or is it just about looking strong? By the way, I have the same question too. Why is Trump planning to strike Iran right now? What is the objective? There is no clear answer from the White House too when media ask the same question. There is no clarity at all. That is not a strategy. The last time America launched a major military campaign in the Middle East without a clear answer to what winning looks like, the chaos lasted 20 plus years. Look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan. And the most important thing right now, 40,000 American troops are already stationed across Middle East at various military bases in different friendly nations of America. Every single one of them inside Iran's declared strike radius. President Trump spoke about it just a couple of hours ago during the State of the Union address.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
In fact, a few days ago, Iran wrote to the United Nations saying all American bases and assets in that region will become legitimate targets the moment the first strike on Iran happens. You notice the gravity of the situation? And it is not just about a military strike anymore. You see, a limited strike, as Trump says, sounds clean on paper, but American officials themselves said this week that a limited strike could give Khamenei exactly the justification he needs to walk away from the talks entirely and never come back. So striking carries risk. Not striking also carries risk. The deal requires both sides to abandon positions they have declared publicly, loudly, repeatedly as non-negotiable. That is what I call a proper trap. And amidst all of this, we are missing the most important part of the story. You see, the Armada is sitting at the door, but the house it is pointing at is already on fire from the inside. Before a single American bomb has even dropped, the Iranian regime is already fighting 4 other wars against its own students and people, its own economy, its own proxies, and its own legitimacy. And that changes everything. It changes why they are at the table, and it changes what happens if Trump actually decides to pull the trigger. The Armada might be the final blow that finishes them off, or it might be the only excuse they have left to turn the country into a total police state and stay in power by force, which is indeed a risky move. In the next episode, we are going inside. We're going to look at those 5 wars tearing Iran apart and why the countries sitting on Iran's border are no longer asking if the regime survives the Armada. They are asking what happens the morning after it collapses. I'll see you in the next episode, and please subscribe and like and share the video. That will be a big motivation for me. Thanks for watching.